Episode number 55, When Spam Happens to Good People. Hi there! Welcome to another episode of the Gayla Scrivener Show. You are in the right place if you're looking for ideas and inspiration to start and grow your own business, your own freedom business. Now, a definition of a freedom business can mean different things to different people. But for me, it's creating a business where I can have and enjoy the freedom to live and to work from anywhere. A work from anywhere lifestyle. Now, breaking away from the 9-to-5 grind and having the freedom to work from practically anywhere is such a cool feeling. But here's the thing though, it doesn't happen overnight and it doesn't happen without work. But all the time and effort, the learning and the stretching is all so worth it. Every week in this podcast, I'm sharing my experiences that I've had in growing my business and achieving the work from anywhere lifestyle that I enjoy. You too can experience wonderful adventure and live life on your own terms. Now, in today's episode, I'm going to pose the issue of spam. Now, most people I know, myself included, hate spam and don't want to be associated with being a person who dishes it out. What do you consider spam? For me, it's a robocall solicitor, the email from a funky email address, and a link click that goes to some place that is entirely different than what I wanted or thought it would go to. Now, we're busy people, right? We don't want to be bothered by unwanted messages. Being bothered and annoyed is one thing. Being manipulated and deceived or even cheated is so much worse. We all get spammy stuff from every angle. The phone, email, even social media. And it's draining. And it's unfortunate, and it seems to be making us a much more distrusting and leery society. I hate to say it, but with our digital age, those infamous malicious bots are everywhere. These little acts of spammy annoyances or maliciousness sure does make it harder for us good business owners who are just trying to connect with folks to grow our businesses. It just makes it harder for us. The idea of bothering people or being associated as a spammer slows most small business owners down in building and marketing their work, especially if you are a timid person or someone who considers themselves, an introvert or have those people-pleasing tendencies. You seem to be held back by sticking your neck out and getting the word out about what you offer. That's what I've encountered anyway. The fear of being lumped into a category of being a spammer shouldn't stop you. What's important is that you implement good, honest practices to truly attract and connect with those who you serve. What kind of spammy stuff are you encountering? How do you respond? How do you feel when you receive it? And it's simple, really. Just don't do what they're doing. For example, I've had many of my colleagues just starting out say how much they hate cold calling. Well, I don't blame them. I don't like it either. In my mind, why even do it? Why not create systems where people are calling you because they truly are interested in working with you instead of starting off the interaction with this intrusive or confrontational way? Take my dad, for example. He hates solicitor calls. In fact, my dad will never, and I mean never, answer the phone unless he's added the number into his phone. He believes that if it was a legitimate call and someone really needed to talk to him, they'd leave a message. 9 times out of 10, those unrecognizable calls are either robocalls or hang-ups. Now, Robert has fun with the callers. He'll talk gibberish to them. He'll even say off-the-wall things to where the automated system doesn't even know how to respond, and then eventually we'll just hang up. Even when we hit the unsubscribe to future calls, they seem to just keep coming. It's so annoying. Although I will answer the phone to a number I may not have loaded in my phone or do not recognize with the caller ID, mainly because it's a good idea to do so when you're running a business. After all, you gotta run a business, right? But as a busy business owner, I get annoyed by the calls that try to sell me something like a medical grade brace that I have absolutely no need for. Or maybe help me pay off a student loan that I have never had. Or shout at me as soon as I answer the phone, "Don't hang up!" Have you gotten one of those calls? You know, it's not a wanted call. So what do? I tend to hang up. I don't know about you, but I am way too busy for those types of calls. I'd rather be interrupted by a call from someone I know and like. The interruption turns out to be not an interruption at all. It becomes a welcomed call. Like I said, I really don't like cold calling. I don't believe in it. The very idea of buying a list and calling strangers just seems like a waste of good resources and positive brain energy. More people than not find those types of calls super annoying. And what's worse, even if you are legitimate in your reasons and in your intentions, the scams out there make it terrible for us good people. Most small business owners just starting out tell me they hate cold calling. I say don't do it. Create a system where you offer value and attract the right clientele. Why spend hours and hours on the phone making yourself feel terrible with all that rejection? In the best of circumstances, we already have to deal with rejection, so why subject yourself to even more? I don't know about you, but I don't need that kind of negativity. Switch it around. Find opportunities where you meet and engage with people. And the best follow-up is a phone call. Maybe you have a booth at an expo where you collect contact information. Maybe it makes sense to have a follow-up call after that show. Maybe you meet someone at a networking event and you schedule a call where you can talk further because it's way too busy and too loud at the event to really have a good conversation. Maybe you are calling a past customer to check in with them to see how you may be of service. Warm calls to friends and acquaintances are so much better than cold calls to strangers. I'm going to be so bold to say that I think cold calling is a terrible idea for the solopreneur just starting out. It already takes a lot of courage and tenacity to build a business. Why open yourself up to so much negativity and rejection right out of the gate? Place yourself in the position of positive experiences as much as possible to set yourself up with more wins than rejection. Create systems to attract the folks that want to hear from you and are genuinely interested in you. By the time you've implemented these systems and you've grown your business, you'll have no need to feel desperate in making those dreaded cold calls. Now, how about email? Let's talk about that for a little bit. We all get bombarded by emails. Our email management can be such a time sucker. That is, if we let it. There are some cool time-saving ways to manage your inbox, but for now, let's talk about the unwanted stuff that comes in and how it makes you feel. And you know what I'm talking about. The stuff that is weird and that you certainly didn't ask for. For example, an email that's telling all about the stand-up tub or some home warranty thing. Those are some that I get lately. It's clearly from someone who has purchased an email list from somewhere, and your email happened to get onto the list somehow. They are what I call doing the spraying and praying method. These people spray the mass messages with emails, hoping and praying they'll get some sort of response or lead from it. On the receiving end, you know as well as I do, it's rather annoying. So why would you do that? Don't. Then there are those malicious emails that plant terrible things into your computer when you click on a link. or those scams from someone that asks you to help them out in some way, or that you're this wonderful winner. Or the worst thing is that you get this spam with malicious intent, and the sender is seemingly from someone that you know and trust. That's just terrible. But when you look at it very, very closely, upon close inspection of that email address, it's not from who you think it is. Those kind of emails can fool the best of us. Not too long ago, I got an email from what I thought from one of my clients asking me to buy something for her off of Amazon. With busy schedules and all, at first glance, it seemed like a reasonable request because I've been working with her for years, and I was glad to help out. She was getting ready for an upcoming presentation at a conference, and I thought the purchase was for that, and I didn't think anything of it. It was a simple request asking if I had time to do the order. I responded and said, well, absolutely. I don't know what happened, but just a little bit later, something prompted me to private message her, and I asked her what she needed me to order on Amazon. She wrote back with a question like, Amazon order? And I was like, oh my goodness. I felt so duped. I went back to the original message and I looked more closely at the email address. Sure enough, it was slightly different than her real address. Yuck. Also, it was signed Jennifer. She never signs anything Jennifer. She always signs Jen. Again, I felt duped. That should have clued me in, and my stomach sank. What in the world did I open up, and will my antivirus truly block whatever I did? Turns out, since I responded to that email saying, sure, I have time, turns out a little while later, I got a follow-up email with the instructions to click a link to pay some money with the promise of being paid back and sending whatever it was I was supposed to buy to some crazy place. Alrighty then, there it was. There was the scam and the maliciousness. I marked it as spam and blocked the address. Now, a few months earlier, the same client received something kooky from me that didn't look quite right about paying an invoice. She questioned it and she avoided the mishap. Spam happens to good people. It just does. We have to be aware of it and be super, super aware. Just because spam happens doesn't mean that you shouldn't communicate or market using email. Email is still the most effective way to communicate and market your business. The difference is, don't be the person who purchases an email list and does the spray and pray method. No, that will sure enough annoy people. Instead, use the process of permission marketing. If you don't know what permission marketing is, get Seth Godin's book titled, appropriately, Permission Marketing. It's the concept of what was in 1999 when Seth Godin introduced the idea as a non-traditional marketing technique that advertises goods and services when advance consent is given. Now, back in 1999, it may have been a non-traditional method, but today, 10 years later, it's pretty much expected and even demanded by consumers. We as consumers would rather give permission to send messages than to be interrupted by those who buy a list. That's the type of email marketing that works best for you and I who run small businesses. Permission marketing. Sending messages where we've been given permission to do so. Whether you're a member of an online group, a client or a customer of a company to receive updates, or have downloaded some cool freebie from someone's website, we have given permission to receive the updates. Now, once the messages don't pertain to us any longer, we have the option of unsubscribing. It's not to say that it isn't work to build an email list. It truly is work. But the quality of your followers that you'll get is so much better than paying for any list. Truth be told, it does hurt a little when someone unsubscribes. But that's okay, because it really means that our message does not apply to the recipient any longer. It's not a personal attack. Again, remember, it's okay if they unsubscribe. What is left on your list are those people who really want to hear from you. Be protective of your list. I once was invited to sponsor an event, and the event organizers asked me to provide them with my entire email list so that they could send out promotional messages. I told them, absolutely not. The people that gave me their email address gave me permission to correspond with them, gave me permission, not the organizers of the event, me. They did not give me permission to give away their information to anyone I pleased. Be protective of your list. You wouldn't want that to be done with your email address, would you? So don't do it to your followers. Instead, in a situation like that, it is more appropriate for me to send my own messages talking about the event that I'm sponsoring and how I was involved and why I thought it was such a good idea to attend. The messages would be from me, recommending something that I believe in. Big difference than handing over emails to just anyone. Finally, let's talk about spam, or the terrible bots either on your website or in social media. What can you do? It's a helpless feeling when you get word from a friend of yours that they got a friend request from you and you've been friends on Facebook for years. You've been hacked. And the best practice is to change your password periodically on your social accounts. But it's a pain, I know. In conjunction with changing your passwords periodically, a good practice also is to not use easy passwords. For more about password security, I invite you to listen to episode 37, Taming the Chaos of Passwords. I also have a quick infographic called 8 Tips for Creating Secure Passwords. Both links are in the show notes, so be sure to refer back to those. You see weirdness happening with different friend requests on Facebook, for example, and social accounts being hacked. But then what if something gets onto your website? You know, a few weeks ago, that's what happened to me. I was getting word trickling in from some of my followers that they would try to click on a link to my podcast through the link that I was posting in my Facebook feed. The link would take them to some crazy Google "You're a winner" page. Something was clearly wrong. And it didn't happen to everybody. It was intermittent. They couldn't even get to my page to listen to my podcast. They would even type GaylaScrivener.com in their web browser, and the same thing would happen. My team and I isolated it to mobile devices and mostly Android, although I did have at least one iPhone example. I didn't have anyone mention that my links were going to that strange spammy site on a desktop computer. But my team and I tried to reproduce it on our end, and we had such a difficult time. We used not only our devices, but the devices of our families too. We just couldn't recreate it. At least we couldn't for weeks, because it seemed to be an intermittent problem, like I said. And those are the worst to diagnose. It happened for probably 2 or 3 weeks, and my heart just sank. It sure does look terrible to have my links routed to something that looks so spammy. It also annoyed me. Why are those evil little bots after good people like me and my followers? It also annoyed me that I had to take the time and resources to be on the phone on help desk calls to fix something that I would much rather be doing something entirely different. To me, it was like grating on nails on a chalkboard. it irritated the heck out of me. The poor people at SiteLog get to talk to frustrated people like me. I have to hand it to them, though. They were very, very good to work with. And they were able to fix my problem. At least I think so. So if you're on my website and you see anything weird, I would love for you to let me know. They did talk me down, SiteLog folks did. They talked me down from the ledge and made things better. But that was an expense that I wasn't expecting and didn't want to do. I thought that my other means of protection would work, but it didn't. And spam happens, and it happens to good people. But don't let it stop you from doing the good work that you do. You will grow your audience when you implement good practices and deliver value on a consistent basis. And you know what? I would love to hear some of your stories. Let's make this fun. Hop over to my Facebook page and tell me some of the crazy calls or emails or weird links you've experienced. Go to my personal brand page, Gayla Scrivener Work From Anywhere, on Facebook. We can have fun with this, and because I'm sure we all have a kooky experience we can share, but also we may have some things to watch out for, so please share your examples and stories. My link to my Facebook page is on my website, gaylascrivener.com, or you'll see it in the show notes. But also, if you're on Facebook, go to Gayla Scrivener, and at the end, it's Work From Anywhere. Now, thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed this episode, and I would be so honored if you'd subscribe out there on iTunes. And until next week, I hope you have a fantastic weekend.